Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are joining us from. It's time for us to start. I know you are all enjoying the Afro jazz. If you hit me up with the right amount of money, I would send you the playlist. Um, but if you can't pay for it, then you just gotta find it yourself. So good evening, everyone. For those of you in the US, good morning. Thanks for being here today. We're gonna have an amazing time talking about mental health, and it's a really, really important topic because when you are an entrepreneur, there's just always so much happening. You're trying to build a business, you're trying to still, sometimes you have a day job while you're trying to build a business on the side. And sometimes you still also have to family expectations. If you're in Africa, which most of us are in Africa, and then you also have black tax that you also have to sort of um, think about and contend with. There's a lot of family pressure. And so this is a really important topic. And I think that is not really given a lot of voice to, it's not given a lot of consideration to. And I think that there's a really huge opportunity for us to talk about this. And for me, it hits home a bit closer because I've had several experiences and several times when I've had crashed in my mental health, and I'm going to hopefully share some of those experiences here today. I like to thank two of my really, really good friends. Jack Boy is literally a brother. We've been, our parents went to school together. So when I say he's my brother, like my brother, we did a lot of kid holidays together. And today he is running a massive media company, doing some really, really amazing work. I'm hoping that on another day we will bring Jackpot in to talk about the work that he does and how he can support entrepreneurs and how we can think about some of those things as well for our businesses. But Jackpot is an all-around great guy, my brother, and he's calling in all the way from the US. I pulled a Hail Mary to get Jackpot here today. So Jackpot, thanks so much for being here. And then the second person is Princess Bobo. Princess Bobo is also my friend for about 10 years. We're about to do our 10-year anniversary as friends. And Princess is a serial entrepreneur. She's running several businesses. And she's a mother of two amazing kids and a wife, and being able to juggle all of this, and very, very Christian, very, very church person. So she holds her faith, holds her businesses, and holds her family all in a balance. And I think that would be great to also sort of hear how she's able to cope with all of that and strike a balance. So Princess is calling all the way from Botswana to be on this call as well. So it's Nigeria at the middle, US all the way to the west, Botswana all the way to the east. So we got everything covered. But yeah, so that's basically the lineup. So we're going to first things first. Before Princess and Jackpot dive in, I'd like everyone to just take a moment in the chat. How have you been feeling lately? Honestly, just use one word. Don't write a prose. Don't write an article. Just one word. How have you been lately? The last week, the last month, this season. Just type it in the chat. One word that captures the essence of it. I see overwhelmed, I see tired, I see optimistic, I see big grammar people discombobulated, motivated, stressed, uninterested, whoa, blessed, stressed with the z. Yeah. Just one word, overwhelmed, exploring. Nice. Great. So as you join in, just if you came in before, I said just one word that captures how you honestly been feeling lately. And great. I'm happy everyone is really honest, because I feel like these are some of the feelings that being a builder and being an entrepreneur, sort of, you have to navigate through. more often than not. And yeah, so great. So thanks everyone for sharing honestly. I'm hoping that by the end of this, we'll be able to also give some humanity to this feeling that you have, so you know that is not you're not alone in these things. And I think this is one of the reasons why we're doing this. Entrepreneurs feel lonely because everyone sort of looks up to you to be strong, and sometimes there is nowhere to go say I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed. If you tell your team that, they'll all resign by Monday. So yeah, so I completely understand. Great. All right. Um, I'm gonna start with Japo. Can we just talk a bit about yourself and like some time when you were really struggling with your mental health, and just talk us through what that season felt like for you, and how you sort of navigated it.
So, hi everyone. So happy to be
Hey.
here. So like I was saying earlier, when you asked how I was feeling, I said blessed, and this is kind of because for once in my life, I've been able to like just step back a bit and just really look at how things have been, how far I've come. And I think one of the things that happens to us as human beings is that we never really take time out to just stop. You know what I mean? And just see how far you've come, like where you've been, and all the things that you wished for and how they become a reality, and how some of the things that you thought were bad have kind of shaped you to become who you are, and how you like
Mm,
this version of you because of some of the scars that you had. So for me, um, I think one of the things that really shaped me will be university, right? I went into Cornell University, an intelligent kid, right? My parents are super excited for me. I'm the first boy, only son, you know what I mean? And it's a lot of expectations, right? I go into school not really knowing what I want to do with my life, not really sure. I decided to study computer science because it sounded cool. I was like, oh, it's 4 year course. I like computer games, so I'm going to study computer science.
hmm.
But what happened to me the first day I walked into class, I just knew it wasn't for me, right? And how do I go back and tell my family that this is not for me? And they paid a lot of money. There's a lot of expectations for me. So what my naive self did, just coasted through school. You know what I mean? Just looking for one way to pass by, not really applying myself. And when it was time to graduate, I just realized, like, boy, you know what I mean? I've been fooling around. But what that whole experience did for me was it kind of brought me back home. You know what I mean? Now it's time to graduate. I realized I might not graduate. You know what I mean? And but one of the things that really changes for me is that I made a decision that my last year of school I was going to really apply myself. You know what I mean? I was really going to show that yes, I fooled around with the other three, but I was going to show that like I could do it if I tried. And so I did that eventually, graduated, but nowhere near where I could have. But what was beautiful for me was at that point in time, I realized that I could try and I could do it. You know what I mean? And I think what that has done for me is like every single point in my life since that point on, is like if I get a chance to do something, I apply myself. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I remember how I felt letting my family down and everyone that trusted me. And I just say, you know what? I'm going to give it my best. But one of the things that I felt was really important was I had to forgive myself as well. You know what I mean? You have to learn to forgive yourself and tell yourself you are not this title. You are not your grade. Because I think one of the things that really had to slip for me was I had to come to a point where I wasn't going to be defined by my grade. But I've gone to school to end up being defined by my grade. And all of a sudden, I don't have that. But what that
Yeah.
did for me, it made me go deeper into myself. So what do I have? Do you know what I mean? Like, who am I and what am I about? So it was painful, but being able to go inside and learn from myself was one of the most beautiful experiences that I've had. And and what was so interesting, there's such a full circle moment that happened to me recently. So went to school. Obviously, most people that kind of knew me in Common University would say, not too sure about that guy, love to have fun and all that. And fast forward so many years later, I was nominated to be the VP communications at the school alumni. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like the guy that was so unserious. And
Yeah.
what was so interesting was they vetted me, right? And they said, I think you should run for it. And thinking about who I was before I left, this is now, it just made me realize that,
Coming full circle.
yeah, so I think it was tough, but I'm grateful for the man that it shaped me to be. So I think that would be my
Sure.
story.
Good. Thanks, Jackpo, for sharing that. And we're going to come back into like fast forward into your entrepreneurial journey and how that has been. But I want to jump to Princess now, like just to share. Princess, how has it been doing business and balancing family at the same time, and how have you been able to just navigate the pressures that come with those?
Yeah, so hi everyone. So my name is
Hey.
Princess, and yeah, so I'm based in Botswana. And yeah, like Mimshek said, we've known each other about 10 years now. So obviously you guys need a bit of context for what Botswana is. So I live in a city that has 300,000 people. That's it. There's 300,000 of us in the city, and 54% of us are under 18. So it's a tiny little city. But as you know, entrepreneurship does not forgive anyone. It uses the same. There's no shortage of pain through the journey. So my journey is very similar to Jackpo. Jackpo, thank you for sharing so vulnerably, I guess, and truthfully, because I can see some of my journey in yours. In that I got to college, I was a smart kid in class. I was a straight A student because obviously, I had my head buried in books my entire childhood. Got to college, everybody said, oh yeah, you have to do science. You have to do something in science. And I thought, yeah, I want to do something with like cutting edge research and science, and stuff like that. So I went for molecular biology. And I mean, 3 months in, I knew it wasn't for me, but I was too chicken to go back to my family and say, hey, I'm out. So I kind of endured through that, got employed in molecular. I worked as a research scientist for a couple of years until I just couldn't keep up the charade anymore. And then I had to sort of jump out and start a business. And I started something in engineering, which I had no training for. So obviously you jump out of this, then you're so excited. Yes, I made the decision. I have the guts. I'm powerful. Get into engineering, and all the obstacles come. I don't know enough about engineering. I don't know anybody else that's in engineering. I don't know where am I going to start? And at that time, I was also starting a family. I was newly married. I mean, I was very young, newly married. We had kids maybe 2 years into the marriage. We had 2 small kids. Yeah, so there was all of this. There was mumming, there was wifing, there was churching, and there was businessing, and there was just being me, Princess. I was growing, I was quite young. I didn't yet know what I was. I was all potential. All I knew is I was very passionate and very ambitious, but I was ambitious in a way that was sort of different to most people. I would explain my ambition to people, and they'll just be like, oh, you're nuts. Like, forget this one, She talks about dreams and stuff like that. So in terms of balancing, I don't know that it's a balance. It's that maybe I have the benefit of having been 15 years in now. And I've learned now that when life happens, let it. Let it. Sometimes the thing that screamed the loudest is my business, I'm about to, maybe I'm facing payroll. And maybe there's no money. That's what's screaming the loudest. I have to give a lot of attention to that and put a pause. Hey, guys at home, I love you guys very, very much, but I'm going to be almost unavailable for the next 2 weeks. I have to sort this thing out. Hey, church, love you guys. Love the Lord. Everything is good, but I just need a short break. So I've learned to just sort of pause and press play on whatever is screaming. Sometimes it's my kid. Sometimes it's me. I've broken down, and it's like, oh, okay, guys, bye-bye. I'm going to the bush. You can't call me. You can't contact me. I check out of everything and everyone. I am alone in the bush with animals. So it's very ups and downs. There's definitely no
Yeah.
formula. You just
Yeah.
learn to work with what you are, your strengths and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Princess. I think there are a couple of points that you made around just getting to know yourself, getting to understand yourself, and I think that when you're thrust through at life, and adulting is coming at you 100 miles an hour, sometimes and then there's a lot of noise now with social media. Everybody's telling you how you should feel and how you should act and how you should think, and you're like, but this doesn't work for me. This is not who I am, right? And it could be a lot, but I like how you talked about just running away. I remember a time when uh, uh, I I was overwhelmed. It was like everything was just crashing, and I got into my car and I just started driving, and like I didn't know where I was driving to. I was just driving, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna drive to the airport and go to Lagos. And then, and I was driving to the airport. And like, hey, wait a minute. Why exactly am I going to Lagos? Because I'm trying to run away from everybody here, right? But how about I tell them I'm in Lagos and I'm actually not in Lagos? So so I drive to the other end of the city. I book a hotel, and then I tell everybody like I'm in Lagos. Nobody should disturb me for the next couple of days. I'm unavailable. I have some serious work meetings to attend. So for the next 3 days, like just meet so and so person to handle stuff. And I was there like for 3 days. I literally crashed out completely. And I think till tomorrow, even my mom didn't know that I was in Abuja, some in the other part of town, but just basically trying to get my stuff together. So, Jaco, let's talk about what mental health crashing sort of feels like for an entrepreneur. If you have a very specific experience that you can share, if possible, this is a very open, vulnerable, hopefully, but definitely safe space. So if you want to share one time when you had some issues, I have one really epic one I'm going to share later. But yeah, over to you.
So before I get into like the crashing, to be honest, like I always like to think about my whole mental health journey from like a hygiene perspective, you know what I mean? So how do I live in a way that I don't get to crash? You know what I mean?
Mm.
One of the things that when people look at me, they think like this guy must really have life good, right? Because it looks so nice on the outside. I'm smiling all the time and all that. But I think that has a lot to do with my name, right? Since you say this is an open space, um, my name is a mouthful, right? As a kid, if you wanted to get me to do anything, right, they would threaten me, like, you know, I will call your full name in public, and you know what, I'll do whatever you do that you want me to do, right?
Sorry, Jaco, can you put your mic a bit closer to your mouth? I don't know. It's your
Can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Yeah, better, much better now. Yes.
Okay, so sorry about that. So sorry about that. So I was just saying, as a kid, if you wanted to get me to do something, you threaten me and tell me you call my full name, right? Because my full name is a mouthful. So, but then as I
What's
grew
it?
older,
Hello.
Sorry, say it.
so
Please say it.
okay, so it's Ejakwamekwe, Ejakwamekwe.
Jaco.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's typically the reaction. But here's what it is. It has such a beautiful meaning. It means my life is full of joy or laughter. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel like that's my mandate, and I kind of try to embody it. Why am I saying this is because things have happened to me that typically will crash people, right? I don't think it's because I'm a strong person. It's just because I try to think about things contextually. When things happen to me, I've been blessed in a way where I can just pause for a minute, right? It's because I think when you've messed up so much, right? And if I don't mess up a lot, but I mess up when I mess up is in public, right? It's like with my grades now, everything is out, the booklet is out, my parents are looking at my grade, and for one strange reason, like if you check our graduation booklet, you see that my name was in capital letter from start to finish. And I'm thinking, I'm already conspicuous enough. I'm failing, but now you have to capitalize it. But here's what it is that it did for me is I feel like once you embrace and engage with your shame, you start to realize that like maybe you're not really, it's not really the experience that you're worried about that much. Maybe it's what people think about it or how they'll perceive you. You know what I mean? So when
Yeah.
things happen, one of the things that I would do is that I would just get into my car somewhere and I would scream. Do you know what I mean? I would scream and I would shout and I would cry and I'll come out. And to me, what is the solution now? It's not because it wasn't bad. It's just because I've done a lot of silly stuff. And now, you know what I realized is if I keep on moving, eventually someone will do something dumber than me. Do you know what I mean? Someone will do something more. So I'm just there
Jack, you give
patiently
yourself
waiting.
like the weirdest pep talks, man. Like, if Jackpot, you just need to stay in long enough. Someone's gonna top this
Yeah,
dumb.
yeah,
Someone's gonna top this dumb shit
yeah,
that you
yeah.
just did.
So I trust my family. You know what I mean? I trust my family. Someone is gonna do something. But a lot of times, maybe they don't top me, but they'll distract them for a minute. You know what I mean? And so here's what it is. I always say when it comes to things like this: is just try and live in a way where you tame your expectations. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's because of this expectations that we have in terms of what we think should happen or what we think this journey means. You don't know till the end, right? Just for me, I try and wait till the end, right? Before I conclude whether this is a good or a bad thing, right? So if I take the face value of what it is that it meant graduating with the grade that I graduated with, it means I'm a failure, right? But then this version of me wouldn't have existed because I would have accepted this narrative of a failure. I would have lived as a failure, right? But because I said, you know what I mean, I don't think I'm a failure, and now I've failed, means the story hasn't ended yet. I'm gonna
Yeah,
find what that story is, and
yeah.
and that's why I just been able to try things out. I think one of the things that I'm grateful for is I'm not ashamed to look stupid trying, right? But what I'm
Mm,
ashamed of is not trying. You know what I mean?
yeah.
What I'm ashamed of is having an idea and just constantly having that burden of thinking maybe it could have worked. Or
Mm,
you know what I mean? I typically want to live dying as empty as possible. Right. So
mm,
given everything that because what you realize about it is you start to become a lot lighter, right? When you're not trying to hoard all the information or you're not trying to be I don't want to be the star sometimes because it's just so much easier. Do you know the thing I realized about not being the star is you can get away with a lot of things. You know what I mean? You can just like everyone is thinking about the star. I'm just quietly doing my own thing.
get it. Jackpot,
Oh,
I've told you, you have. I feel like we should do a book. I think we should do a book. Jackpot's pep talks. Like you have like the weirdest pep talks.
no, you got
Like when
to.
you're not the star, guess what? You can get away with a lot.
Yes, yes. Someone said something to me. It's like, dude, this world is hard enough. I'm not gonna announce myself and make it harder for me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just like
Yeah.
let me tell you how it is. It's like one of it, I think working in the communication space as well makes you see the world a lot differently. Because in my space, if you're gonna be speaking for people, you kind of have to understand different people's context. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you're a proper communicator or spokesperson if you don't understand the context of the people you're speaking to, right? In some capacity, right? So for me, I always try to just step out and say, okay, yeah, Jack, but this is the lens that you're seeing it from right now. But there are so many other lenses, right? And bro, do you know what? One thing your mom used to complain, my mom used to complain to your mom about, is like, this Jack boy, he's too philosophical. Like, he's coming here, he's asking me too many questions. You know what I mean? I used to stretch out because I'll tell you another thing that I always want to find out is why. Do you know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
always the how. I think sometimes we're too caught up in this is how we think it should happen, but maybe that's not the way. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
I thought computer
yeah.
science was the name way because it sounded cool, but then in going into my computer science journey, one of the things I realized that is I know that I don't know computer science. right? So that's one door. Count me out of it. I haven't have a grade to show that I don't know it. You know what I mean? But then I've
Yeah.
gone on to find out things that I'm great at and that I love.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I guess what I'm just trying to say, the way that I see things and the way that I see things that are tough for me, I'm grateful for the toughest experiences that I've had
Mm.
because I've started to see it as if I'm ever going to be something great, right? And
Yeah.
we now think about the context and the concept of refinements and minerals. Like someone said to me, it's like the most precious minerals go through the toughest refinements. So I'm thinking, who am I kidding? Right? I kind of feel right now I can't have it both ways. And this is something since we're talking to founders is like the fact that you have that idea, you have that drive is a gift and a curse. Right. And I think for me, one of the things that I've learned to do is accept it as both and not try
Mm.
and dissect it at every point in time. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that when it's bad, I'm dealing with that ugly part of being great.
Mm.
When it's
Yeah.
good, I'm dealing with that part of being great. Never
Yeah.
really getting carried away about what point I'm in at each point in time because it just
Mm.
comes back to my why. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think for me is maybe I'm just a naive guy. Maybe I'm just philosophical, like my mom will say. But I
Yeah.
believe in the power of positive communication. Right. I have a lot of positive conversations with myself where like this thing happens now. And I'm strange in some ways. It's like I'm the kind of guy that if you walk up to me and you startle me, I can almost cry and shit on myself. Like or in the most dangerous situations. So I'll give you this story, then I'll just wrap up. So I'm on a flight from Warri to Abuja and coming back and really bad weather. So we have to go back and forth. And then we get to a point where the flight, right? We don't have enough fuel. We have to land now. We have to brace the storm and everything. And there's a guy that I knew from back in the day. He was like a bigger brother to me, Uncle Kenneth. That's why I call him when we work together. So now he's there. We're catching up. He's right next to me. And then now we're going through turbulence, man. And it looks like this plane is about to go. And everyone around me is shaking, like things are going crazy. And then I'm just looking at everybody just screaming and shouting. And I said to myself, it's like, but remember you told yourself you're gonna die happy. This is how you're gonna die. You gotta get yourself together. So I'm there just like watching Uncle Kenneth is squeezing my hands and like everyone is screaming. And I think it's when I get home and I'm narrating the story to my auntie and I realize like, boy, you're silly. You know what I mean? And that's when I started to really feel it. But yeah, I feel for me, I just try to see the positive side of things and just try to move on from there. So yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Jaquan. Like honestly, like I feel like you really need to be studied. Like we have to do that book, your pep talks. But just a few things that you said, I think really bears repeating is the managing expectations and I think personally like joy or sadness or frustration really comes from the expectations. And I think it's not even necessarily holding yourself to high standards as much as is this societal expectation of what I should be and where I need to be, right? And then now taking that pressure and that expectation and just translating it to yourself can be very detrimental for yourself, right? And I think that again, especially as founders, being able to fail. I liked how you said, look, I'm not ashamed to say, hey, we tried it, it didn't work. and like, yeah, it's not the end of the world. Like, let's go on to the next one, right? I feel like this is something that especially if you're the firstborn, man, it's a hard thing in Nigeria. If you're firstborn in Nigeria, man, you don't nobody cuts you any slack to fail. Like you can't, like my mom calls me and like, you are my first son. You're my first son. Like I did not ask you to bomb me first, but we're here now. We're here now. What can I do? Can I come second? No. Okay. So yeah, so like there's this whole like, yeah, my first son. You have to. my mom started telling me this like as a teenager, like you have to put your life together. You have to figure your life out. You have to, and yeah. And so sometimes we're not able to like, hey, we tried it. So that being stuck in that, I cannot fail. This thing can't fail, and then it just breeds frustration that just keeps on repeating itself. And I think is a terrible place for people to be. So founders just not being too attached and like, hey, it's better that I tried it than I didn't try it, and one day I will now regret and beat myself and say, oh, what if I tried it and maybe what if it worked, right? And just that societal pressure of Instagram and social media. We'll come to that maybe when we talk about what exactly pressure is. But Princess, just tell us a bit about, if you can just maybe narrow down like to one scenario of something that happened that really was like a challenge for you with your mental health and all.
Okay, so I think where I am now, I've come to a place where I kind of know now what the early signs are, what the mid signs are, and what the late signs are of like I'm approaching danger or burnout or something like that, you know. And it's stuff like, and I'm saying this for the sake of the ladies. I don't know how it works for the gents, but this is how it works for a lot of the females that are around me. I mean, I don't have a lot of founder female friends. There's even less of us, believe it or not. But for like the early stuff is things like you start to question, like more than just question, what am I doing? You start to think to yourself, oh, why am I here? Why am I even going this way? Don't panic yet. I know that question comes every day for a founder, okay? But there's a way that it comes where you are feeling slightly hopeless and sort of not motivated to find a solution or talk to somebody about it. There's stuff like that. There's loss of interest in things that you love. You know, if you are a reader or a hiker or you swim a lot or gym a lot, you'll noticeably that you are reducing, that your interest in those things is reducing. Your friends are calling you out, you don't want to go out anymore. You are in a bit of danger. Like that's a flag. It needs to go up a bit, okay? And so this is what happened to me. Okay, so maybe from 2020 to I want to say 2018 to be more truthful. Maybe from 2018 to about 2023, I had it was like it was a scheduled burnout annually. You know, round about August, I could feel it starting to come, but it would have really started around January. I could tell that my interest is going down. I'm feeling more stressed, more anxious, more like when I think about stuff, I'm thinking about it in a downward spiral. I'm not thinking, oh, what's the future? What's the exciting part? I'm just thinking of, oh my God, this thing's not going to work. And then before we know it, by August, I reached burnout. And then burnout for me was everything from I can't get out of bed for 3 weeks to, you know, sometimes just a hard week or 2 rough days or whatever. But I reached a point where I just could not function for about 3 months. And then I said, okay, this is the last one. And that was 2023. That's the last one. And what had happened then was I had gotten my engineering business to the milestone that I never thought I'd achieve. I'd put myself this ridiculous milestone, which is, let's see if I can make $1 million revenue from this business. And then I achieved it. You would think I'd celebrate, but then it was like, oh, what have I done? What have I done? You know, now I'm $1 million business. Everything changed about my business. The profile of my business changed. The banks were treating me different.
You get $1 million problem. You're playing the $1 million league now.
Correct. So then obviously now I'm thinking, everybody's wondering, why is she not happier? This woman is greedy. And I was nowhere near I've achieved $1 million. I was just thinking, what am I gonna do now? And then obviously, like, it impacts your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your friends. I started to withdraw from my friends. I felt less like them. They started to treat me different. The church started to treat me different. And listen, I was raised a good Christian child, okay? Good Christian girl child. The one who sits with her legs nicely folded, poised, you sit up straight, you speak with a soft
your back
voice,
arc.
yes, with your back. I'm doing it now. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm sort of doing it now. Good Christian child, don't break the rules, follow all the rules. But to reach to $1 million, I gotta tell you guys, I had to break a lot of rules. I had to break rules, and I learned to have an affinity for breaking rules. So just the idea of dealing with, look at how many rules are broken. In my mind, it was sin, but it wasn't, Ka. It wasn't. It was just like my programming, my mindset had to change. It was just too stimulating, and I crashed. 3 months, couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't work. I couldn't pick up the phone. I was useless to my kids and my family. So that was the last one. Then I said, how do we handle this better? So yeah, I don't know. Mimshak, do you want me to get into the handling, or we leave that for later? Maybe it's coming.
We'll definitely come into the handling.
Sure.
I'm gonna share a bit, and then I'll ask if Japo wants to share a bit about what pressure really looks like in real life. And one of the reasons why we're doing this really is I found out that when you're a founder, again, like I said, you have to be strong. You almost have to be strong all the time. And then worse off if you're a firstborn like me. So firstborn, to my mother, I have to be strong. For my brother, I have to be a role model. Then I go to the office, and then in the office, I have to be strong. Even not sure we can payroll this month. I'm not exactly sure that the client that said that they were going to come through, they're going to get back to us, will get back to us in time to get the money in that actually have to pay the staff. I'm not sure that the power is going to remain on. But then I go to the Monday meeting, and I have to tell my people that, yes, we're making progress. We're driving this vision. It's going to work. Even though deep down inside, I'm asking myself, really, is it going to work? I have some of my staff on the call, and I'm like, man, should I be sharing this? Should I be sharing this with you guys? But yeah, so right, and if you're a church guy like me and like Princess, and you go to church and you're a leader in church, and then everybody comes to you with their problems, and then you have to be the strong one to tell them, don't worry, it's going to be fine. Let's pray about it. And then you're about to pray, and then your mind is saying that you got bigger problems than this one, right? You sure God is gonna hear you? and so, and then when you talk to your entrepreneur friends, and maybe you have a few entrepreneur friends, for most times your entrepreneur friends are sort of like in the, yeah, you guys are friends and all, but pardon my French, but you guys are sort of in a dick measuring contest, if you're gonna be honest, right? So everybody wants to look like they got their shit figured out. So you ask your friend, hey guy, how's it going? Be like, man, it's going good. We just closed this deal. Last week I was in this meeting with Dangote, like he was just right across the table from me. And you're like, oh my God, everybody else is making progress. I'm the only one in the shithole. Right? And nobody's trying to tell you, like, guy, I'm fucked. Pardon my French. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. And that's what pressure looks like. Pressure looks like all this uncertainty, yet everybody else expects you to be like the strong one and show up. And then when you think like you want to talk to someone, maybe your friend who's your entrepreneur, then they have their shit figured out. And then it now looks like you're just the only one who doesn't have their shit figured out. And you don't want to be the one that looks like the dummy in the room, especially if you grew up in Africa, where your parents ask you, does your friend have two heads? When he took first. So you're like, oh my God, does Jack will have two heads? He's striking deals with Dangote. What am I doing with my life? This is not the life I planned for. Right? And you're there. And again, like I said, because of the expectations, you know, and sometimes it's like, that you don't have the revenue to sustain the number of staff that you have. I'm just this practical for builders. And you know that you just got to let people go. But you don't want to look like the person that now we were 10. I used to brag to people that I have a 10-man team. When you go for those business meetings, like, look, we have a 20-man team. And now you have to have that team. And you're like, damn. No, and now you're holding on too long, or you have to let go of that office. You know that you need to let go of that office. But it's the prestigious office in Maitama. It's a prestige. Like, no. Now that's what pressure genuinely looks like, right? And you're just going to have to figure out, and we're going to talk a bit about things you can do to be able to like go through that. Jack, I don't know if you want to share some what like pressure looks like in real life. Guys, by the way, all the examples I give are not hypothetical scenarios. Like all the scenarios, I've been through them. I've gone from a 20-man team to 3 people. I've gone from an office in Maitama to working out of my house. I've gone from $1 million revenue to we literally can't pay rent, and we can't make payroll. I've been through the whole thing. I've gone from owning a car to selling my car and having nothing and entering Ubers. So these are not hypotheticals. Like, this is pressure, and I have lived pressure. Jackpot, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just start by co-signing the fact that I know you've lived with a lot of pressure. I know this personally. You've lived with pressure because you've also been a reference point, right, for people when they're saying, you're the one that everyone's mom is saying, can't you see what he's doing? Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, and I'm having a conversation with you on the side, and what cool. And like, my mom is like, is that you should be asking him to teach you? That's just like, do you know what I mean? So I can only imagine what that must look like on your end. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that we don't really talk about. You know what I mean? The pressure that the family puts on us. You know what I mean? From an expectation perspective, from that angle of comparison and all that. And for me, one of the things that I learned, or I keep on learning, obviously, is this pressure of a thing, right? It's really make believe, right? Like that thing that you're thinking cannot wait, right? If something happens to you physically and you cannot do it, you cannot do it. And do you know what would happen is morning will turn to afternoon, afternoon will turn to night, and so on and so forth. So one of the things that the way that I move, and it's so, and people that deal with me, sometimes they look at me and I know that like maybe I scare them a bit because of how chilled I am when things happen, right? And I do feel pressure, honestly. I do feel pressure because I hold myself to a very high standard, right? And I think one of the ways that I've learned to kind of, like, for lack of a better word, just to transmute that pressure into something else. It's like, if you're in a position where you feel that kind of pressure, my guy, you're doing something right. If you're in a position when the stakes are that high, my guy, you're doing something right. And the fact that you are here means that there's something in you that can move forward with this thing. So, my guy, calm down first. Calm down first, honestly. And you'll be amazed how, and to me, I think I always say this, one of the most important conversations you ever have is the conversation you have with yourself. Do you know what I mean? What you take away from every experience that happens to you is a function of you all the time, right? I'm just going to even call you out, right? Earlier, you talked about, me and Princess are Christians. I never said I wasn't a Christian. Just putting it out there, right? Yeah, but obviously,
I'm so, no. So sorry. No,
I'm teasing. Yeah.
No, I know
No,
why I particularly.
I know. But guess what it is? It's like me. I've learned that, like, you have to be able to laugh at yourself too. You know what I mean? Because when you said it, I laughed, and I know that you are saying it because you know me. Don't act like you don't know why you said it too. You know what I mean? Because you know me too, right? I'm not the most religious person, right? And this is, obviously, I really believe in God. I love God. A funny story. I wanted to be a priest. I went to an all boys Catholic school, right? So I thought I was gonna be a priest, and I think what I really enjoyed about, and this is so random, right? And my mom, please, I was so amazed. My mom is one of the most she's pretty intense, and my mom is If she knows something, she knows it. Like for you to convince my mom, you have to come correct, right? And we'll go to church, and I'll see how my mom will be quiet and be listening to this priest. She's just be listening. I was like, so they can, like, do you know what I mean?
Someone can talk to mommy and mommy's gonna listen. I want to be the priest. I want to be that priest. I'm going to be the priest. I can talk to my mom and my mom going to listen.
Yeah. But here's what it is that I started to learn is I think I like expression, right? Self-expression. And I find that is how I'm able to interpret pressure, right? And I feel like it's kind of like if you watch football, if you're playing the final penalty of the World Cup, right? Are you saying if you had a chance to pick the pressure and they'll take away the pressure and you wouldn't be there, you wouldn't take the pressure? I'll take the pressure every day of the week to be there, right? So one of the things that I started to tell myself as a founder, as a leader in any capacity, right? I'll use the like if you go market, you want to buy something, they say this one I'll follow come, right? It's part of the package. Do you understand? And I feel like I really started to have honest conversations with myself. Yes, I'll be kind to myself, but you have to be real with yourself, right? It's embarking on a journey, embark on the journey with your eyes wide open, right? We all like to read about the fairy tales about like great people that have done great stuff. But when you read about the sufferings, so why do you think yours is going to be any different? So you think you're just going to have the juices of the great things, and then you're going to be exempt from the hardship? It's kind of part of what it is. But here's what I would say: it's easier. All of this thing I'm saying, I'm just speaking English. When I was in these things, right? I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And one of the things that I've learned about pain and about all these things, sometimes it's just is the check lights. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like you're driving a car and there's a light that tells you, oh, you need to check on the tires. You need to, and like Princess said earlier, it's like all of it at some point your body starts to tell you, like like clockwork, if you're being honest with yourself, the tell signs are there, right? But here's what it is about the pressure that we're talking about and why it feels explosive is because while waiting for that one big incident to just happen and then we blow up. And then, yes, the pressure is there more excessive. But then when you think about some reactions, right, it's not really that one thing. It's accumulation of things. Do you know what I mean? That was just like the trigger point. It's just the one. It's just like, I remember like a couple of times when you and your friend, like your friend has just been teasing you, and then it's just one that he would just tell you that would just tip the lid off. It's just like you. I don't want to tell you since. It's so ridiculous, you know what I mean? But then that is real life for you, right? And that's how I try to engage with it. It's like I realize that like I'm going to be engaging with the good, the bad, and the ugly consistently, right? When it's the good, me, I go leave them to the fullness because I don't want to be thinking about maybe I should have enjoyed it more. No, I'm going to enjoy it. Do you understand? I will enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to show that I'm enjoying it because here's another thing I find, right, with all these things is the pressure usually is just a question of what we think people would say, or like Princess was talking about how she was doing amazing, but she's still thinking about this external noise. Do you know what I mean? She's still like, and funny enough, these people are not even in this conversation with us. So they're having their own conversation with themselves that they're battling with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? So a lot of times you realize that like we create it. And one of the things that I would say personally is for this comparison thing is like, I'll be honest with you. Do you know one time I've muted you, right? And this is, let me tell you why, right? Is because and this is a very, very crazy thing to admit. Is like you have to start to understand the different kind of feelings that you can be triggered into, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember I moved back to Nigeria and we connect again and you're just telling me all the things that you're doing. And I'm here trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing. And like, you're just so sure, you're just so aware. And every time I saw your certainty, I started to get more pressured. And I said, you know what, bro, I love you, but I think I know just see for now. Do you know what I mean? And every time I see you, I would hug you and I'm genuinely happy for you, honestly, because you know what I mean. In my mind, look at that. You speed now. Make I no come be that bad belay when I dey pray against. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So before I get to that point, like I love my relationship with you. I love myself. I don't want to stoop there. Do you know what I mean? So these are some of the little things
Yeah.
that I feel like we don't really think about, but then it kind of happens, you know. Kind of
And Jaco,
happens.
let me do you one better, and let me explain something that you wouldn't might never really know. So the period when I was most visible was the shittiest time in my life. And I'm gonna paint you the picture. I'm gonna paint you this picture. Like people never know this. Like this is the first time I'm gonna be sharing this in public. So at this point, I had just left my job in venture capital, and I didn't know how bad it was, and I didn't leave on a very good note. It was a shitstorm. There was some issue. I got set up. I left in a very, very terrible note. Even Princess doesn't know the second half of this story. And even though now me and my former boss are like chummy and everything, but back then it was bad. It was brutal. That came at the worst time ever. Like I didn't have savings. My rent was about to be due. My mom, my aunt, and my bro were living with me, so I had like 4 mouths to feed. My job was like everything to me. Like my identity was in my job. Like the first thing that happened to me after that was I didn't know who I was outside of my job. And then so this is me broke. I actually had a little amount of debt. My identity was gone and wiped away. I didn't have a car anymore. I had mouths to feed, and that was the time when I was the most visible on social media. Like I had this whole, I don't know if you guys I've said, like this whole rebranding, Mimshack 4.0 guy, 5.0. I was doing. When we reconnected, that's when you came and spoke on one of my programs back then. I was, pardon my French, I was fucked. I was so fried. It was terrible. It was the worst, most uncertain time of my life. And this is the funny thing, right? But I'm putting out my best foot forward. I'm showing up on social media. I'm doing all these programs. I'm talking confidently. Like, I'm just at this phase where I'm just figuring out the next, I've done venture VC. I'm done with that. Now I'm going to bigger, greater. And this is the funny thing. Now, so this happened to me, right? And I'm going to give you in that scenario because social media is such a terrible thing. When you're trying to compare your situation with people's filtered versions of their lives. So I had this friend, and I knew that he and his wife were having like some challenges at a point. And then all of a sudden I started seeing him posting pictures, and they were all like smiley pictures of him and his wife and his kids, and they were hanging and having, and I was so happy for him. And I'm like, man, guy, I'm so great. I'm so happy for you. Like, why? I'm seeing all like the pictures with your wife and your kids and all the smiles, and like, man, see, as I'm talking to you like this, we're about to separate. Like, I'm like, what? And people are going to be seeing those people and like, couple goals. Oh my God, God win. See husband, see wife, cute family. And it's like, we're about to separate right now. And it's like, sometimes I'm posting these pictures to remind myself of the joys, to remind myself, and maybe to remind her that maybe we can make this work. But that's the amazing thing. So I started to realize that when I see my friends just increase their social media presence overnight, I reach out to check out how they're doing, really, because I realize that many times they are like in the middle of a shitstorm, and that is just a way to overcompensate. But yeah, Princess, you wanted to say something. So Jaco, I completely understand, but yeah, I wish we could have just been better real with ourselves. And I've told you that, man, as I did like this, I broke.
I didn't tell you. No, I'm not.
I mean, I love the honesty, gents, I really love the honesty, because I think it's amazing how I mean, I've lived for so long now. I've learned to appreciate how similar the human experience actually is, and that has filled me with compassion and empathy, and just I'm much kinder. I am much kinder, and I am grateful that this is the princess I have now. When I started out, I've just generally always sort of been good at anything I try. If I try anything, I'm probably going to excel at it. Okay. Um, it's just one of those things. I just don't really struggle to figure things out, especially like the more complex the problem, the more I want a bite at it. And, you start to think, there's something so special about me. You have some type of special immunity, yeah? Because Jesus doesn't have other kids. I'm the only one. So then these things sort of start to get stripped away to expose what your true identity is, and I can so relate to what both of you have said in terms of, acting. The bigger I act, the more everything has fallen apart behind me, and I've been through so many seasons in my life where my business is gonna fall apart. I'm literally counting like this is 14, like we're working our day down to day 0, and we're like day 14, 13, 12, until the doors close. And it just falls in your face, and then all you're left with is, who am I in all of this, and that's where I'm truly anchored, is in the word of God. God did this amazing miracle with me early in my journey, where he showed me that I have to let him define who I am. It's a must. I can't have it another way. So I had to literally, I would Google scriptures, the promises of God over our lives. And I would read all of these things that God has promised, when he was making us, what he was promising us, all the things that he did before we even got here, all the things that he has done already, and I had to say those over and over to myself like I'm mad, like a mantra, until it started to sink in that, oh, I'm already blessed. I'm already called. I'm already chosen. He's already provided everything. All I have to do, my work is to believe him. My work is to believe him. And so from that foundation, I started to live. Look, it was not perfect. It's not like I turned this corner and it was like, ooh, hello, hallelujah, here comes princess. No, I've still, what was it, 2 years ago, I sat down with 15 people and just told all of them, you're fired, get the hell out of my office. All of you suck. May your tongues grow fur. May you never get the cold side of the pillow. I was mad because they cost me millions. So I fired everybody. So it's not to say I turned into the soft little whatever. But the more I looked at the actual character of Christ, the more I was able to emulate him. Christ didn't let people walk all over him. He didn't let people disrespect him. When he saw something was wrong, he went as far as flipping a table and whipping
he
some
flogged
folks.
them. He flogged them out of the temple.
So that is within the realm of what's allowable as a response from me. You understand? So it became one of those things. And so because I started to so meditate over and over and over and over about what the Lord has done, I started to develop an immunity to people's criticism and praise. Both were not as impactful as they were. Look, every now and then I'll pick up the phone and say, hey, Mimshek, listen, for whatever reason, today all the stars have aligned. The devil is after my life. Please, I'm about to give up, And I mean, Mimshek, he's been an amazing friend over the years. He'll encourage me, he'll tell me, no, there's no way you're giving up. Come on, you built for this, There's days like that. I still get days like that. I had a day like that on the weekend. It was the roughest. I was just like, what's happening? What's happening? And then promises of God. And the enemy is also whispering these, oh, you thought you were special, whatever. But I had to be anchored in God's word. And I continue to have that as the most important relationship in my life, because my inner voice, that critical ones, that critical one that will come up to say, you could have done that better. You could have, has to now start to match the Father's voice more and more. Where Christ doesn't come to me criticizing and say, you could have done better, you could have done that, you could have, no, because he's aware of the whole journey and who I'm becoming in the journey. So
Yeah.
the days, it's not like they go away, and it's not like the shitstorms go away. It's that you become something different. You're always becoming. We are becoming somebody.
Yeah.
I am becoming
Yeah.
a $10 million revenue CEO. That
Yeah.
CEO is not sitting here right now, but she will
Yeah.
be in a couple of years
Yeah.
if I continue
Yeah.
like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you weigh a bad day, a bad stressful time, and I'm talking about real stress, not this one that we're imagining, thinking, when am I going to get 5,000 users on my platform? I currently have 100. No, I'm talking the sheriff tomorrow morning. The sheriff will be at your house. The landlord has already given you eviction notice. Your office is I'm talking about things like that. Okay,
Existential
you
crisis.
start to weigh those versus the longer journey and what Christ is doing with you over your lifetime. So yeah, that's what I'll say.
Yeah. Thanks, Princess. And I think like some of the things you said sort of aligns with when Japo talks about your self-talk. One of the things I found out recently, not really recently, like this is like about 2 years now ago, was I found out that I had very negative self-talk. And this is not what I say like verbally, but what I say in my head. Like I caught myself with the thoughts that I was having in my head. And in fact, I think I remember one time a friend of mine mentioned to me that when she's about to do something wrong, the voice that she hears in her conscience talking, telling her that she shouldn't do that crazy stuff, right? And I didn't understand it until this day. I'm about to do something and I'm hearing myself and I beat myself up a lot in my mind. So if I make a mistake, that's why I remember almost every single mistake I ever made. Almost every time that I was giving a speech and I stuttered or I didn't pronounce the word right or something, I remember almost every one of them because I beat myself up so much. And so one day I just caught myself talking to myself and saying how you ain't shit, and you're better than that, and I'm like, what? Like, is this what I've been putting myself through? And now I'm learning how to like correct my self-talk. And the second thing I wanted to talk about, I wanted to just highlight before I hand the mic to Jackbo, is identity. And I think that identity is an anchor that everyone sort of needs to have. And when you anchor to something that isn't solid, then you're going to have major problems in life, right? It's like how I had my identity anchored on my job, and then now I'm no more on the job, and I'm like wondering, who am I? And that's why after that, I made sure that I never introduce myself by what I do. Like since then, it went out of my system. Like I'm proud of what I do. I'm great, but it's like, who am I outside of what I do? Like I'm a great guy. I'm an awesome guy. I like to talk. I like to read. I like to eat good food. Like I like to hang out. Like that's me, right? I don't have to. I don't have to have a word like, oh my God, I'm the CEO of like. Leave that shit alone. and that identity becomes super critical because I think that everything that happens to you, you respond from identity, right? So like I like how you go back and remind yourself who you are from God's word. It's almost like when you're raising a child, you raise a girl child different from when you raise a boy child. And at the early days of a girl child, you have to remind her that she's a girl all the time. Hey, you don't see it like that. Hey, you're a girl. You don't do that, right? Hey, you're a girl. You have to. And I think like it's the same thing with us as well. It's like you have to remind yourself that, hey, I'm strong. I'm a strong person. I can go through this. Hey, I'm smart. I can figure this out. I had this friend, Wisdom, and Wisdom is very, very much like you. Like you guys have this really positive energy and attitude almost all the time. And Wisdom had this mantra, and I've told my staff this over and over again. He always says, "I'm an entrepreneur. I can't be stranded." Like since we were kids, like. So no matter what it is, like we could be at the middle of Third Mainland Bridge, the car's broken down in Lagos, and it's like, I'm an entrepreneur, I can't be stranded. And it's like, it's almost like he is like, I don't know if you guys used to watch wrestling back in the day. There's this guy called, I think, is he Hulk Hogan or so, that would grab the ring and start shaking it, and then like charges himself up. And it's also similar to, I was telling somebody recently, again, I like to reference the Bible because like it has just like the best stories about how David had an existential crisis as well. Like for me, this is called mental health breakdown for David, because they go to war, come back, and their whole camp has been raided. His family, all his soldiers' families are gone. And then what happens? His soldiers say, we should kill him. So these are your guys. These are the people that are supposed to protect you. Are saying, let's kill this guy. And then the Bible says David goes and encourages himself in the Lord. So that part of your self-talk is so important. Like this was before he prayed. So he didn't even go pray, oh my God. No, he went and like reminded himself of who he is. What is this identity? And whatever it is for you, like as an entrepreneur, you need to have that very strong. You need to have positive self-talk. You need to learn to talk yourself up, because to be honest, like most of the world is going to try to talk you down, right? You have to go tell yourself, like, look, I was built for this. Like, no, do you think that the next billionaire CEO isn't going to go through shit? I'm bigger than this shit. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to figure it out. I might be down right now, but I'm climbing up. Like you'd be surprised what this would do for you. But positive self-talk for me, like, is one of the things that helps with just getting through those dark, those gray patches, those terrible times in your mental health. I don't know, Jack, but do you have any like other pointers of stuff that you do? Because I feel like we need to write that book though. That's Pep Talks from Japo.
So a lot of my friends, they call me like story man, right? Because I like words and all that. But one of the things I've learned about words is like they're spells. You know what I mean? Words are spells, right? So it's hard for you to catch me using words that I don't want that outcome, right? Like if I don't want that outcome, man, I'm not going to use my words to encourage that outcome. It might eventually happen, right? But not because I added my words to it. You know what I mean? I feel like when you're talking about self-talk, there's this, you have to be accountable to yourself and to the gift that you've been given. Princess was talking about anchoring. And I think if there's anything I've learned recently, is one of the greatest strengths is your ability to surrender. Do you understand? Like just surrender and understand that like maybe you are taking yourself too seriously if you think you can change what is happening right now. maybe just step back and think, maybe, just maybe, that you think that you can change all these things that are aligning right now. And you think, oh, maybe it's because you misspelled something, or maybe it's because you were late on something. You know what I mean? Yes, you're great. Yes, if you're a Christian, you believe you're created in his own image and likeness. But hey, come on. There's so many other people that are part of it. You're just part of a piece of this jigsaw puzzle called life, right? But for me, it's like with words, I'm very, very particular about them. I say the words that I want. And it comes from, I think I got more context when you read and I think another thing that kind of changed the way that I really see this whole thing is someone asked me, right? Or I can't remember, but I saw it somewhere, is who is more important, right? The man who creates history or the man who documents it? Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter what the man does, what the future generation is going to know is what they wrote about what he did. You know what I mean? And you have to think about your mind that way, right? It's not about what happened to you. It's about your interpretation of what happened to you.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You have to. So when it comes to, when you talk about things like baggages, what I see as baggages is when something happens to me, right? is one or two things I start to find, right? Is it's not because it's a linear thing, right? It's just because you understand that on either side of it, it could have gone anyway, right? But this is where it's gone, right? So what is it in this part? If it's a good thing, I say it's a blessing. Thank God, right? It's what I wanted. It came to pass based on my own expectations. But then on the flip side, if it's something I wasn't expecting, I feel like that is a sign that maybe my original thought is actually flawed, right? Maybe the expectation of what I had, yes, going to Covenant University and thinking computer science was the right thing, really made me realize that, okay, maybe that's not what God, definitely that's not what God wanted for me. That's a fact. Because when I think about my life now, but I'm able to see that because I'm just like, okay, wait, let me just calm down now. And another thing that I picked up earlier when is sometimes you just realize that like you've become, right? Because that's typically what I feel like our whole experience, our life experiences is like becoming with everything happening to you. Like, how are you taking what it is and becoming, right? So sometimes you are becoming everything else but yourself. You're becoming the
Mm.
whispers of people. You're becoming the
Yeah.
voices that you're hearing of people. Like, and that's what I mean sometimes. It's like once I have a great idea, there's certain people I don't even bother speaking to. I love you, but like I don't need you to come out and question what it is that I'm seeing because I'm seeing it. You know what I mean? Like you can't tell me what
Yeah.
I'm seeing. And I remember I was having a conversation with my cousin and we're arguing about football. And it's like, Jack, well, that's my problem with you. They're always trying to see it from a different perspective. I was like, bro, what else are you going to expect? Should I see it from your own perspective? Just like, do you understand? Like, I have my eyes. It goes like, oh, they're pundits and these guys are professionals. Like me, I'm a professional too. I get I see. You know what I mean? So I feel like you kind of have to trust your voice and tune up the voices that aren't your voice. You know what I mean? The words that you accept about yourself, the words that you let people get comfortable saying to you. Like I mean, once it's you, like So here's the funny thing, right? So, like with the spelling of my name, for instance, like we had a conversation about this,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, and for me, it's not even about anything. Is I know who I am, and this is how who
Yeah.
I am is represented, right? So
Yeah.
let me help you. This is who I am because I believe that like we have to be very intentional with this thing, words, and in terms of our emotions and our feelings, is
Yeah.
when you name something, you give it life. What you
You give it
call
that. Yeah.
something, do you know what I mean? And I think just bringing it home to the Africa, to the black man context, is a lot of what the black man or woman thinks about themselves is a function of what people that haven't worked a day in their life is saying about that. Do you know what I mean? And now you're now taking that to be your reality. It's affecting how you interpret things. So now you're not interpreting things by your own real context. You're
Mm.
interpreting it based on a context that was designed to make you a certain way so that you're more
Keep it
pliable for
limited.
exploitation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'm making it easy because you don't believe you deserve anything. Do you know what I mean? And this thing, forget taking it too far to Africa, taking it to yourself. It's like, what do you deserve in encounters as a founder? What do you expect from your team? Do you know what I mean? It's like there's certain expectations that, of course, you should have because you're investing, you're doing what's necessary, and they're giving you back. And if they're not giving you back, and you're delivering on your own end, like Princess said, it's like get out. You know what I mean? If you're not with me, you're against me, go away. You have to be comfortable with that because that's the reality of that, right? And at the same
Yeah.
time, there's time where there's someone in your team that you know can do better. And this person is dealing with stuff and you know that they need a shoulder to lean on. And you know that like, yes, maybe the other parts of the team are looking at why is this guy being so sentimental, right? Because now you have to deal with things contextually. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the problem. We want a blanket style approach to life in general and experiences. No, it's not a one size fit all. Different experiences would unearth different things to you. It would have different meanings. So
Yeah.
I would just say, based on everything, I think surrender is a key thing. I've realized that like I'm a vessel. So instead of me trying to control what it is that comes my way, I realized my own job is to steer it. And your ability to
Mm.
steer it is like you have to be calm when, and think about it, right? So I'll just leave with
Yeah.
this note, right? So when you're when you're in a flight, and when it's smooth, there's no talk about putting on your seatbelt, right? But when it's turbulent, one of the first things they tell you is to sit still. Sit still. So when everybody was screaming, I said, first of all, forget what I said about wanting to die happy. I remember at the beginning they told me to sit still. So I'm gonna sit still.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sign off with that.
Thanks so much, Japo, about with that. And I want to just piggyback on the who you allow, what the voice you're listening to, and who you allow talk into your life. And this is very important because I remember a time, and again, we're talking a bit about family, because I know people who have told that, look, you need to leave your family for a bit. There was this time when I had just finished university, and I got my first job, and it was a very, very toxic work environment. I wasn't liking it. I didn't like the job. Every end of week, I felt like I wasted my week. It was a draining time for me. And I knew that I had this call to do something impactful. So I resigned from my job, and I went to start teaching in public schools for free. And I remember that period because I was squatting with my aunt. I was squatting on my aunt's couch, and my mom, I started avoiding my mom that period for like a couple of months. And the reason was, every time she met me, she was always going to point and say, if I was with any friend, like, can't you talk to him? Can't you see how his life is? Can't you see what is he doing? What are you doing? And it was so toxic for me that I literally had to avoid seeing my mom for a couple of months. Because even though I knew what I was building, she couldn't see it. I could see what I was doing. And I just so fast forward a couple of months later, I win this award. I get some $10,000 from my first grant. A couple of months later, from that work I was doing, I got into the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and I'm going to the US for 6 weeks. But if I couldn't see clearly what I was doing, and I didn't stay the course, and I succumbed to the pressure, my life would have gone into a different direction now, right? But being able to figure out and know the voices not to let to speak into your life is very critical. And avoid and curating what you're listening to, curating what you're giving your attention to. This helps with your mental health. Like the way Jack was said, yeah, I know, like, it's me, but like, you had to mute me. And there are times where you're going to have to mute people, not because of bad belly or anything, but sometimes is that every time you see this person, it reminds you. For some of you, maybe it's an ex. So you broke up with this girl or this guy, and then they seem to start doing better. And then every time you see that picture or that video, that new day is like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? Mute, archive for your mental health, right? Just for your mental health, because if your head is messed up, trust me, you cannot make a lot of progress in your business. And this goes with your emotions. This goes with your how your mind is, where your mind is. And this also goes with your spiritual grounding, to be honest. And just to I'll talk about my personal routine as we're about to sort of like wrap up the session. I'm going to talk about my own personal mental health routine, the things that I do and I keep as a routine to just keep me on track so that I don't spiral. And I realized many times that when I start seeing those check lights, princess, of something is coming, I go back and check my routine and something just slipped. I realized something slipped, and because something slipped, I'm beginning to see the check engine sign now. And all I need to do is go back to those things and make sure that they don't slip. So I'm going to give you what my own personal checklists are. So one is that I like to journal and I like to write. Some of you follow my WhatsApp channel.
Sorry, Jack.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just before you get, because now you're getting to the solutions,
Sure.
I just wanted to add something for the ladies, please.
Sure, please.
I think when you mentioned that, at some point, even your mom was the person you needed to mute. That is so real. You know what I mean? And it's amazing how vulnerable you were with that, because I think for look, I don't know, women are genuinely sort of very similar all over the world, okay? So I know I'm generalizing. It doesn't mean I'm speaking to you specifically, but as a general thing, I have found that and I do not know what this is. Okay, maybe it's the patriarchy or whatever. I'm not a big buyer into all of that, but women seem to need permission to do stuff. You know, if you are in a marriage, which I am, if my husband has an idea, he stands up and he goes and does it. Okay? If my husband decides, oh, by the way, there's whatever is happening in the village, because between the two of us, we're from like 5 different countries all over SADC. If he decides, hey, there's something in Mozambique, oh, by the way, I'll be in Mozambique next week. If I have to do something in Zambia, which is my hometown where I come from, I already think to myself, oh my God, okay, how am I going to tell him now? You know, praying and hoping that he's going to agree. And this is something that I used to just be okay with until I wasn't. Until I realized, hold up, this is not this stand up and let's kill the patriarchy stuff. No. I'm talking about just being a founder that's rooted in God's word and seeing that there's nowhere where God made provision to say, hey, but if you're a wife, these things be careful. There's honor and respect on both sides of the thingy. So there's this thing that women do where we need permission to even start your business. Then when you start your business, now you start doing better than your husband. And then now it's like, oh Lord, how am I going to bring this up? You know, there's all these little things. And there's also your aunts, your aunts, your sisters, your moms. Like in my culture, women are very together, like we're very close. And we speak to each other about everything. And my aunt will always be like, can you reduce your ambition because can you see how is your husband going to look at us? Like as if I'm bringing down the group average of my family by being successful. So there's things like that where with women, you have to watch that in yourself. I'm not advocating for disrespect or the most successful one, none of that, because none of that honors God. And for me, that's personally, I have to honor God in everything I do. But there does come a point where you have to sort of reckon with your person and say, hey, fam, I didn't make myself this ambitious. I actually didn't. I wish I was just normal. I wish I was just one of those people that just gets a great job, which I did have 2 amazing jobs. I've turned down scholarships to Harvard because I just have this worm in my brain that keeps itching and telling me brand new ideas, and every time I try those ideas, they succeed. So there's being watchful. As a woman, you need to watch for yourself that you are not constantly asking for permission. You're not constantly asking for people to agree and approve what you're doing. To
validate you.
Yes, all of the time. Somewhere in you is the story of Noah, where only he was told, go and build the ark. If he was a woman, he would have spent 5 years trying to convince the town that this is a good idea and a God idea and I hear God and blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Follow God. You're going to stand. Okay, that's for me. This is me telling Princess. Follow God, Princess, because you're going to stand before the great white throne. He's going to ask you, what did you do with what I gave you? No. My husband didn't. My pastor didn't. You know, like even at church, guys, I'm not trashing them, but it's just, it reached a point at church where it was like, hey, this relationship, we made them nervous as a couple. Because there's this woman who's like wildly ambitious. She wants to take over Africa. And she, you can tell. I mean, there's a lot of energy. She's very ambitious. She's fiery. And they're concerned about, is she being submissive? Is she being this? Hey, this one, she looks like... And I wasn't allowed to just be me. You know, I'm loud. I love people. I'm so high in energy. I'm so ambitious. I'm like the go person. If you come to me with an idea, I'm like, no, even bigger. Yes, max it even more. It's just who I am. And for a long time, I put that in a little
jar,
close thing. Yeah, until pretty much when we met, Mimshak. That whole experience of Yali was sort of the permission I needed to know that, no, my ideas are valid. You know, my ideas are valid. So I just wanted to point that out for the ladies, that in case there's any of you that relate with me, you have to find that courageous voice, that bold voice that doesn't need permission, that doesn't need to be validated. By virtue of being an entrepreneur, it means 90% of the people disagree with you. Yeah. It's very few places that you go to that you're normal. And this room, this meeting is one of those places where you are normal. In here, you're normal. You can't dream too big in here. You can't, there's nothing too big in here because somebody's probably achieved it or quadrupled it. So you're normal. So trying to fit in with the 90% is where women's dreams go to die. So yeah, I just thought I'd sort of point that out.
Thanks.
And without being overly graphic, as a woman, you have to also be aware what a woman is. Every 2 weeks, there's a shift in us. We can't act like men. We're not men. I'm not a man. I have a uterus. Like, to not be too graphic, you know where I'm going with this. There's a 2 weeks of my life that I know, okay, here we're in the danger zone. We're not making decisions during these 2 weeks. Because all the decisions those 2 weeks is, you're fired, you're no longer my friend, I hate you, you're always a hater. That's what happens in those 2 weeks. So those 2 weeks are the times I take to Husa, come back in, hear the Lord more, depend on my team a little bit more. Then there's the other 2 weeks where I am, my God, you cannot contain my energy. I make decisions. I meet people in person because my energy comes through. I've got so yeah, just for the ladies, guys, just for the ladies. Thanks.
Thanks. Like, oh my God, Princess, that was pure gold. That was pure gold. Thanks so much for doing that. Jack, you want to say something? And maybe as you make a comment, and then if you can walk us through, like, I know you're very huge on mental hygiene. I've heard you say this several times. Not just the mental health. Not let's not treat it later. Let's keep some practices in place to make sure that we don't get to the point where we need to do the treatment, right? So if you can walk us through, like, maybe your mental hygiene routine of key things that you do. Again, and for everybody, for you, it will be different. So I feel like what we're going to do with this segment is just give you a buffet of a bunch of stuff that you can pick and choose from. And if none of this works for you, you can research some more stuff on mental hygiene and figure out what to work for you. So, Jack, over to you.
But yeah, so I want to first just get into some of the things that Princess said. First of all, it's like I love what you said about permission. I love it, and genuinely, I think about it sometimes. I grew up around a lot of powerful women, women doing stuff.
So, Jack, your mic again.
Oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear me now? Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. So I grew up around a lot of women, powerful women doing things. So my own idea of what it means to be a woman as a kid was she can do stuff. And I remember when I wanted to travel, one of my first conscious conversations about traveling was my mom, I think, talking to my dad, telling him like, "Oh, I think we're going to Dubai." I can't remember what it was, but she's like, "Oh, I don't buy my ticket. So, if you want your kids to come, just throw them out." You know what I mean? And she could sort out tickets, but I know it's also she wants to get my dad involved, that kind of thing. So I kind of grew up knowing that like women have a say, right? And it's not just because having a say, I realize, comes from a point where women need to start to understand that it's if no one else is going to look out for your interests, like you're going to look out for your interests, right? And I say this because women are constantly expecting men to kind of change the system that's favoring them, right? Like it's not really gonna happen. Let's be honest. Like, and the same thing I say, I'm just gonna segue when people say, "Oh, the government." I was like, to be honest, if you're waiting for the government to change the system that is favoring them, they wait. Do you understand? So, to me, what I'm saying is, I am someone that I enjoy working with women, because there's a way that they view the world that men don't view the world, and I will never be able to view the world. And I think that balance is very healthy because if they allowed men to just do everything, right, this world would be a shit show. We're already even seeing what it is that's happening with a lot of men there. But then here's the thing about the role that women play too, right? Is sometimes when you see a woman come out, especially in the African context, it's like one of the first group of people to kind of bring the person down. It's kind of women making side comments because they don't believe they can do it. Right. So now you that you're doing it, there's something you must have done that is shady. There's something that you must have done because, and then there's also that element where you think there's not enough space for women in this. So women now become a threat. But then here's what it is. The more women in this space, the more say that women have. So do you know what I mean? I feel like at some point, I love what you said, Princess, about the self-talk, but I feel like as a community, right? And I say this is like if you address something in isolation, it's hard to have a collective punch. Obviously, I feel like the men that have sense should play a role too. We're not exempt from the conversation, but there's a saying that they say where I'm from. I think it's general as well. They say, "Now wear shoe, no way they pin 'em." Right? Like there's no way us on the outside are gonna kind of have to know. But that notwithstanding, African women are some of the most amazing women in the world. So all the women now, shout out to all you amazing women. You know what I mean? I want all you guys to just clap for yourself, doing amazing, amazing things, holding us down, and we appreciate that. Um, honestly, on a man perspective as well, you guys are some of the reasons why we have good mental health and some of the reasons why we don't as well. But we love you all the same. That's deep. So one of the things that I was one of the routines I'll start with, like if you're a married man, right? For peace and for peace of mind is don't see your wife as a competition. You know what I mean? That's one of the first things I'll tell you. And it's so easy for you to find yourself in that place without even knowing. And this is when you completely subscribe to a clear division of gender roles. So you're feeling if your wife is stepping into a role that you perceive is yours, she's kind of stepping into your field. But then what you have to realize is the partnership. You know what I mean? And I feel like by design, the universe will bring you to someone that kind of like covers your gaps. So those things that you are threatened that she's doing, I think when you think about it, you can't really do it yourself. You're just kind of sad that she's the one doing it because I mean, to me, it's one of the things that I've learned. My ego takes the back seat. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to matters of partnership, like I said, I don't have to be Superman. I'm okay being a Robin. And a lot of times, like I say this to a lot of people, is like me, I don't really know how to use money, right? But you see my wife, she knows how to use money, right? So I'm like, for me, it's like I'm comfortable saying, you know what I mean, you hold the bread. Because me, I like English, as you can tell already. I like to talk, right? She's more like, yo, Jackpot, streamline your energy. And I like it because obviously my mom was happy when she met her because if my son is a philosopher, he likes English. Now he's married a woman, I just like, Jackpot, can you just shut up and get to the point kind of thing? And I have to accept that. That's my peace of mind because I can't be triggered because I have to accept that shut up, even though it's uncomfortable. If you allow me, I'm going to take us to a place that only God knows where. So she's just like, homie, come back. We've been here before. And I'll be like, no, but in my quiet time, I'll be like, you know what? She's right. And depends on how I feel. I might come back and own up. If not, you know what I mean? I pray to
Yeah.
God that He forgives me. He sees my heart. You know what I mean? And another thing I'll say is very important is the first conversation you have in the morning is a big one, right? I would say don't pick up your phone first. Never a good idea, right? Pick up this phone, you might receive something about a botched PBL or something ridiculous, and then now you're inheriting a conversation that has nothing to do with you for the rest of the day. Why do I need that, right? So what I try to do, I decide the tempo of what it is. When I wake up, I say this to myself, a couple of nice words. Do you know what I mean? First of all, I say there's an openness that I have. I'm open to what today is going to bring because I don't know what it's going to bring. So first of all, removing an expectation of a certain way the day has to be so that the day reveals itself to me kind of gives me a lot of peace, I find. You know what I mean? So it's so easy for the day to be amazing because you know what? I wasn't expecting anything in particular, right? And even in terms of what the day would bring for me, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because my expectations aren't too specific, I'm able to see what this experience is bringing. Like I said, I have some random conversations I have. I wouldn't say this will work for everybody, but that's kind of what it is that I do. And I find mobility is very key as well. Um, your body is kind of like the vehicle for this your journey. If your body is not right, it's harder. Do you know what I mean? You kind of have to give your body a bit of love, right? In terms of stretching it, moving it a bit. Don't let it get too stiff. It's one of those things. If you don't really use it, it just kind of starts to and it doesn't like and it'll be giving you signs, to be honest, but then we just keep like you think you can push away. I feel like you need to respect your body a bit more, right? Like this is the tool that God has given you to do this journey. Obviously aging will come naturally, but then don't help it along the line. Instead, guide it so that you age more gracefully. I would suggest as much as possible. And team sports help too. Team sports help too. Like having conversations like that help too. You know what I mean? Chatting around. So another thing I would say is read broadly, right? Go in search of knowledge and don't let the knowledge just come to you, right? Go in search of
Sorry,
information of the kind of things
Nathaniel, can
that
you help
you
mute
want
mute the
to.
person's? Okay.
Just like go in search of the kind of information that you need. Like be intentional, right? It's kind of like the way you go about planning what you eat, plan what you read, what you consume, what you watch. You know what I mean? You'd be amazed how subconsciously you're just absorbing different negative energies from movies that you're watching, from news that you're reading. Like you have to just say, you know what, this is enough. I don't need this right now, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Very intentional about that. Another thing that I learned is I read this book on Kaizen, just the simple act of doing the simple things one step at a time. Because sometimes when you look at everything on a broad spectrum, it's overwhelming. But I realized when you break it down into smaller bits and pieces, and then you engage with it bit by bit, you're easy to just move along. I would always advise for you because, and I also just tell yourself, like, guy, you're not Superman. So I'm never trying to be an explosive guy anymore. You know what I mean? Even the way that I'm talking, you can tell that sometimes I'm sensible while I'm even talking. I'm not even trying to shout. That's also, like, I tell my wife sometimes I'm on energy saving mode. And just because I don't know if you shout, honestly, I'm being real with you because especially when shouting will change the outcome. I better
It's
speak my
not going to change the outcome.
better change the outcome. I'll tell you. And something ridiculous. Like so me, I'm like a diehard Man U fan and like I used to really struggle with it and it used to really proper pressure me. And I remember one time, like 2 weeks ago, not like some months ago, I was watching the Man U game, only me, and I just I was having like palpitations. I was panicking. And I just said to myself, you know what, these guys don't pay me, I not do again. And like I'm in a couple of Man U group, I just sent a message, you know what, like I love Man U loves me, but you know what, I can't. You know what I mean? These guys are getting paid. And now the way I engage with Man U is so beautiful. It's like I tell my wife, like, oh, Man U playing. I was like, oh, great. You know what I mean? I'll watch it. It's like, did they win or lose? I was like, to be honest, they won. Aren't you happy? I was like, to be honest, nothing really concerns me. They lost. Oh, the same thing. You know what I mean? But I have all the jerseys, but I'm just sensible about how I engage with them. You know what I mean? I'll say I try not to take things too personally too.
Yeah.
I realize that something Princess said earlier about empathy. You realize that people are dealing with their own shit as well. And
Yeah.
sometimes the way
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
engaging with you,
Or
they're projecting. So try and read between the lines because what I feel like if the roles were reversed, you would hope the person that you're communicating
yeah.
with would do that for you. So it's kind of this like mental courtesy that I'll call it, where
Sure.
I understand like, oh, you're shouting, but I know you're looking at me. I know I'm not the person that you're shouting at. There's a lot of different things that has led you to this point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's difficult because sometimes it can even annoy them the more. It's like, so I was just like, no, it's not like I don't care. I do, but I get it. You know what I mean? Like you're in this space and this is what you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I go with that energy with you, we're just gonna this is gonna get explosive. And
Yeah.
obviously, as you know me, I don't have the energy for that. So I try to be sensible with that kind of thing as well. I would
Yeah.
say write or find
Yeah.
self-expression in any capacity. Some people might be writing. Sometimes you might realize you like voice notes if you like the way you sound. I don't really like the way that I sound, so I rather write. Um, too random when I. No, it's funny. Like when I hear myself, I get confused. Honestly, I don't know how to act. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm shy. I don't know if I'm shy or I'm embarrassed. But I just say, you know what, God, if you gave me, so I'll give you a funny instance, right? It's so random. So one of the things that I think about is like, God knows why I didn't allow me know how to sing because yeah, I would have been finished. Like I would have been singing up and down. So yeah, it was. I got carried away. One time I was living with my uncle in Lagos, and he's a strong Christian, great guy. And we used to have this devotion where we sing. So one day I was in the spirit, and I was just singing, and then he's just kind of like, everyone was singing, and the guy said, "Jacko, Jacko, wait, stop. You see that? Is this place that this voice is coming out from?" So I beg. This guy was always trying to get me to sing. And the guy was like, "Homie, please don't sing." And we understand. And I was just like, you know what I mean? So now I only sing in the shower. So knowing when to sing is also a good idea. You know what I mean? I'll say do it in the shower if your voice isn't too great. Um, but it does help. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
another thing, I'll take great relationships, great honest
Yeah.
relationships, people that you can speak to. The kind of conversation that me and Shaq would have sometimes is like we can even record it. Like so random time we're just talking and we're just bumping
Yeah.
ideas. It's so
Yeah.
therapeutic and we're thinking to ourselves like, bro, I would like to come back to this conversation for a
Yeah.
reference. You know what I mean? Having people like him in my life, especially as a founder, so that you don't so that you remember that you're not crazy. That there are some people more crazier than you. So like him Shaq always reminds me like, no be me crazy parts. This guy is crazy too because he's audacious too. So every time I sit down with him, I was like, "Oh, this guy don't come again, man." Yeah, but I love it. You know what I mean? Because it's like validation. So, but I would never advise that you seek validation externally. But it's just nice to have people that you bounce ideas off. What else would I say? But I say be kind. Kindness is one of the most therapeutic things. But in the context of Africa, be kind, not stupid. You know what I mean? I've been there. Doesn't pay.
Yep. Yep.
um
Yep.
be kind from a place of respect yourself, respect what you stand for, because as a leader you might not care about it for yourself, but then you have to think about who you represent, the people you represent. So if you're seen as a pushover, it kind of puts a dent on the respect for what it is that you're trying to build. So I'd say be kind, but don't be stupid. And one of the things that I learned about kindness, it kind of affects more than the two people, the people that are observing kindness. It's also therapeutic for them. You know that feeling when you see someone doing kind and you're like, oh, that kind of thing. You just feel a bit of the warmth from afar. Nothing, you're just going on your day. You just see someone do something nice and you just collect your own share of it. So I'll take the kind. That was a good
Yeah.
thing as well. But yeah, and another thing I think is very important um is we deal with, and Princess talked about, you talked about it in terms of this tying your identity to achievements and the things that you do. Very fleeting. You know what I mean? Because today you can be hot, tomorrow you might not be. And if you allow that be the way that you move, you be like a yo-yo, just be going everywhere. You know what I mean? So you want to be grounded in yourself by surrendering and saying, you know what, I know what it is that I know what I'm able to do, and just pray for the grace to be calm at the moment where, because part of what it is being able to use what skill set for what situation, right? So sometimes you know what it is that you need to do, but you're too riled up, you're too angry, and then after the fact, you're thinking, oh my God, I should have done this. But then what you should have done was calm down, right? So one of the things that I'll say, easier said than done, but once you're in this kind of situation, just allow yourself time to pause. It's okay. Just step back, take a deep breath. One of the things that I would typically do is take my breath in, hold it for 3 seconds, let it out for 3 seconds, and just say one or two nice things to myself. You know what I mean? Try not to focus too much on your looks. You know, that's vanity. Talk about the nice things inside. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, I'm brave, I'm positive, I can overcome this. And it sounds random, you know what I mean? But you'd be amazed at how you now start to, because all these things are muscles. You have to understand that, like the same way you're building
Train them.
your physical muscle,
Yeah.
you have to build your mental muscle, and
Muscles as well.
repetition is the mother of all skills. So you have to,
Yeah.
it's not what you do all the time. It's not what you do some of the times, what you do most of the time, right? So
Exactly.
your brain will now be wired. So for me now, it's almost like take on nature to be positive when things happen. To have my low moments, yes. To have the moments where I second guess myself, yes. But then now, because of routines, I have a way back. Like you said
Yeah.
earlier, I have a way back. Once I see I'm losing my grip, I realize that like, okay, that means I'm probably adding weight, or I'm not as fit as I used to be. Because when I was fit,
Mhm.
my mind is lighter, I can think on my feet. But now I'm feeling a bit like, but also as well, sometimes there might be something medically wrong with you. Check yourself. Don't assume that you're good. check yourself, your blood pressure. Like recently, I checked my cholesterol, and it scared the S out of me. Right, in my mind, I was good. Right, and I was like, oh, like then you start to realize that, like, guy, you're not that young anymore. It's a hard thing to accept, right? When
Yeah.
like when you believe in Peter Pan, but you
Yeah.
gotta accept that maybe that's fairy tale. We're not gonna live
Yeah.
forever.
Change your
So
diet and eat,
yeah,
eat health.
you gotta like you have to own up where you are right now, not where you used to be. Like
Yeah.
all this one like you know me before I did play ball, I did run. Bruh, I get time before no be property, as they say. So that's just those are just some of the things that
All right,
I
Jack.
would
Well,
say. Yeah.
thanks so much for your laundry list. We're really, really almost out of time. Princess, do you want to add some things to those lists of things that you could do to keep your mental hygiene? That's our
All
new word
right.
now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So really quickly, the biggest thing, I think one of the biggest thing that was like a small change but made a big impact, boundaries. Guys, I learned about boundaries. I learned about I get to choose and allow people in and out, and how inner circle, mid circle, outer circle, and if I never see you again, I'll live. So and that goes from friends to business partners to business associates. Who can I deal with and who can't I deal with? Even with church, I had to learn boundaries, where a lot of the systems were based on my exhaustion, my overextending myself, my giving way more when I should be resting. They're just wanting and pulling and pulling and pulling. And I had to learn to say no. And trust me, it's a journey of learning to say no. You don't get it right from the first time you say it. I was too hard with it. Like I went all the way that side. I burnt the
We
whole
knew we
thing
had the conversation.
because I'm coming from being yes, 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 yes. And so the first time I had to sort of put into practice saying no, I didn't get it right, but you can't stop there. You have to keep practicing until you reach a point where now even my friends will say to me, hey, my daughter's having a birthday, and I'll be like, no, sorry, I'm not feeling it. I don't lie, I don't overpromise, I don't do it. I'm just not feeling it. I am wallowing in my house right now because tomorrow's payday and I have no idea where to get the money. That's my internal talk that I don't say to my friends. So learn the boundaries, and the boundaries are to protect you, the person, but you have to be intelligent about protecting yourself. This is not about nursing your little silliness and comforts and whatnot. If I had it my way, I'm a super introvert. If I had it my way, I would never deal with people ever. But that's not realistic. That you don't get to build $1 billion company by being alone in your house in your kitchen. That's just not real. So you learn to care. And I learned this by being a mom. When I was a mom to my kids when they were small, I knew, I could tell this person needs a nap. This person needs to eat. This person needs to play. I treat myself like that because, believe it or not, I've tried to convince myself I'm more mature and old. I'm still a baby. So I have to put Princess here and say, okay, has Princess been fed well? Then let's start there. Have you fed Princess the correct nutrients? I'm talking protein, starch, veg. Have you fed her? Is she hydrated? Has she moved today? Has she moved in a way that was challenging to her body? Has she seen something recreational? I love to watch the sunset. So I go up the hill every evening for 30 minutes. I go up hiking. I go watch the sun go down. That's just how it's my biggest woosa of the day. When I don't do that for 4 or 5 days, something starts to go off. So you have to learn those boundaries properly. Once you learn to care for yourself properly, you actually learn to care for others properly. If you don't allow yourself to be abused, you're not going to abuse other people. But if you're abusing yourself, when you're tired, no, work more, drink 10 more coffees, 4 more Red Bulls. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. So it's the boundaries of saying no. And then 2, it's keeping the vision crystal clear. Crystal clear. You because that's what holds you up every time. It's mostly, guys, you have to have an affinity for the word no from people and people trashing your idea. The crystal clear vision is what keeps you moving forward. So I like to do a 3-year. Okay, I like to do a 3-year, and then I narrow it back down to 1 year, so that I know what I'm doing for 2026. while still being open to what the Lord can do. And then in those 12 months, I obviously do it 6 months, a quarter, a month, a day, a week, until I know what I have to do next week. That level of structure for me really keeps me sane. And it stops me from saying yes to all these other things, because everything that doesn't fit in here, in this specified vision, most likely will get a no. And everything that sort of fits in here will get a yes. That clears a lot of the noise. It gets rid of a lot of the noise, because I know myself. I'm a yes man. I'm a sucker for a great idea. I will say yes, yes, yes to everything. But then next week, Monday, now I have to tell Mimshek, oh my God, I actually can't do it. Then I become the disappointing friend, as opposed to just weighing everything versus the vision, obviously being flexible with it, but pretty much it's defined in terms of what's the big, hairy, audacious goal at the end of 3 years. So that's also kept me very much alert. The practices, the daily practices, I'm a daily practice type of person. So every day I need to have a bit of a cuddle with my kids, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You know what I mean? I don't wait to say, as soon as we get past this quarter, the quarter never passes, as you know. It never arrives. So every day I need a bit of a cuddle, a bit of a huddle with each one of my kids individually. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Are you good? What's in your world? They tell me all the little things, everything that's going on in their world. If they need encouragement, I do it. If I need to take them out, if they just need an ice cream, whatever, I get that done. I do that for me too. This princess here, this baby called princess, needs 1 hour of solitude daily. This is 0 phone calls, I have no gadgets on me. I don't have my watch. I don't have my phone. I don't have my AirPods. 0. I'm just hearing the birds. It helps me. I don't know why, but it does. So I honor that. You know what I mean? And that's a boundary I've kept with myself. I keep those promises with myself. And then for me, the last thing that I'll just add, my faith is the most important thing that keeps all these things anchored. Because when I'm at my lowest of lowest lows, what gets me out of that hole is the word of God and the promises he has said about me. There's nothing else. I can get people encouraging me, even my husband encouraging me. It doesn't work until I just dive directly into the word of God. It doesn't mean I get it right all the time. Guys, I still make loads of mistakes. Okay? I am wrong a lot. But I've just learned to sort of just honor the process. This is the trusting of the process. That's what I'll add.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Princess. And thanks, Jaco. I love the rawness. I love the vulnerability. I love the honesty that you guys have brought to this conversation, because there are very few rooms where entrepreneurs can be this vulnerable and this open. So thanks so much. So guys, we're already wrapping up now. So I just want you to take a moment and do this in the chat. What parts of building has affected your mental health the most? Okay, you can just put it up in the chat. Whatever that is. So maybe it's hearing no. I know recently some of you started having to go out to talk to people about your business, and then you get in those no's and those get out of here. I know how that can be. So just put it up in the chat, whatever it is, the parts that you dread the most, the parts that are affecting your mental health the most. Maybe it's end of month and payroll. Maybe you have a team member who's just stubborn and you don't want to have to deal with whatever it is. So what part of your business execution, whatever part of your business is giving you the most terror. Sticking to the set plan, right? So just put it down, and we're going to just do one small exercise before we wrap up. So while you're putting this down, I'm just going to ask Jaco and Princess. So please keep putting down the one part of your business that is giving you the most stress. Just rapid fire. And Jaco, just one final word from you, and then one final word from Princess. And then I'm going to come back to tell you guys what you're going to do with this one thing you've written down in the chat.
So first, I just want to say well done. So nice to be here. So refreshing. You know what I mean? I feel like, when you let out a good sneeze, you know what I mean? That feeling, that's kind of how I feel right now. Feel so much lighter. And I think that one of the things I would say, real conversations are good. real conversations are good. But I always say the most important conversation is the conversation you have with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Constantly be kind to yourself, be honest with yourself, be real with yourself, treat yourself as a big deal, because the fact that you exist means that there's a place for you, there's a purpose for you. Might not always make sense. Allow yourself that chance to grow, because in the past you've shown that you're capable. You know what I mean? With everything that you've been through. Um, I feel like this internal dialogue, don't wait till it's tough before you start to move. Just live in a way where you're able to become. And I love the word that the way she put it. And I think that's one of the greatest realizations for me is it's a journey, becoming. Like you're gonna constantly with each experience, there's something you're gonna pick up. So be kind to yourself, talk to yourself properly, and know that you exist. That means that there's purpose in your life. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome. Thanks, Japo. Princess, over to you. Last words.
Sure. Thanks, guys. I mean, I've learned so much as well. I think for me, just the ability to like freely express without judgment, without, truly being heard. It's so healing. Like in itself is actually quite healing. So for me, the encouragement, guys, we're definitely in it together. Don't abandon the founder communities. Don't. That's the only place you get to be with like-minded people. The rest of everything out there just doesn't agree with you. It's all opposition and just get a real job. When are you going to get a real job? I still get that. I still get when are you going to get... So what? You're just sitting at home. This thing is what? It's in the air. This your tech AI thing, So there's that. But don't abandon the community. And then 2, everything is actually happening for you. Somehow you're being trained. You are being trained. After 15 years in the game, there are times I sit in a boardroom and the exact thing, because I went through like a proper war zone, I have the answer in this moment. And then like God just helps me connect that to say, oh, do you remember that thing? That's why you know how to do this now. You are being trained. It's happening for you. And you are also not just being trained, you're being guided. Believe it or not, there are doors being opened for you supernaturally. Like there are connections being made for you supernaturally. It will all, I promise you, it will make sense in the future. Mimshak, thank you so much. This is an incredible opportunity. Thank you so much. Okay. Guys, it was awesome to get to know you guys. It's good to hear West Africa, America founders. You're all, I just going through exactly what, I mean, I feel at home. I feel like you're family. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, Princess. So guys, now from everything you've reading down, the part that gives you the most mental, that affects your mental health the most. From the things I've seen 2 main threads. The first one is there's some of you that have it's a knowledge gap that's making you stressed. Is that there is something that you need to be able to do that you just don't know how to do it. And because you've not learned how to do it, you're stressed by it constantly because it's just a skill that you don't have, right? So for those that are skill deficiencies, you want to go learn how to do it. And I've realized about this, that once I know how to do something, my confidence gets better at it. Now, I used to dread it before, but now I look forward to it. And there's this pizzazz and this spring in your steps when you learn a new skill. You're looking for the next time to show off that I got it. I know how to do it now. So if it's a skill deficiency, then you want to just go get the skill, right? But then the second one is a belief. For some of you, it's a belief challenge. It's an esteem challenge. It's a identity challenge. And for this one, it's something I'm just going to tell you what to do, and it's really, really simple, right? It's a routine that I think that this would be one of the most important things that you can do with yourself every day. I want you to take this like medication. So when you go to a doctor and doctor tells you take this tablet 3 times a day, right? This is what I'm going to tell you. This thing I'm going to tell you to do, you want to do it 3 times a day, right? You want to do it in the morning. You want to find some time, schedule it in your time, find a block of time in the afternoon, and you're going to do it in the evening. And what I want you to do is you go and stand in front of the mirror and you tell yourself this. So you're going to talk to yourself and you say, I was built for this. I was made for this. I am going to win at this, and I'm going to tell an amazing story one day. So I'm going to say it again. I was built for this. I was made for this. I'm going to win at this, and I'm going to tell an amazing story one day, right? And the thing about this is that while you're going to take medication, you're going to do it morning, afternoon, and evening until you hear it in your mind, until you hear yourself saying as a response. So maybe you take that call and then somebody says, oh no, I don't need your product. You're going to hear yourself say, I was built for this. I was made for this. And this is going to make an amazing story someday. Thank you. and you're just going to see that this is going to boost your esteem. It's going to help you get better. Right. So the last thing for me is before I'm going to give some announcements. So please don't leave once I say this, but no matter what is happening with you, you don't have to destroy yourself to build something meaningful. Right, you don't have to destroy yourself. I know we didn't talk about this at all, but the tendency when you're going through mental health stress is to go into vices. Try not to do those. Right, you become reliant on them. Many of them degrade your body, and you're not going to be as sharp as you used to be, as strong as you used to be, and you need your strength for your family, even for the vision that you have. So more often than not, if possible, just focus on the more positive habits and stay as much as possible away from the vices, because then they get you dependent. So you don't have to destroy yourself on the way. It's possible to have a balance. It's possible to have priorities at different times in your life. And it's possible to build a business and still win in every area of your life as well. So again, I want to say a big thank you to our two speakers. And just to give you some announcements, some lineup of activities or things that are going to happen next in MBN. So just for those of you who haven't been in MBN or this is your first take with MBN, MBN is My Business Network. It's a community for entrepreneurs, for builders. We like to call ourselves the Builders of Africa. It's a Pan-African network. And right now, even though we're still just in West Africa, but Princess, we're coming to East Africa, right? And so, so it's a Pan-African network of entrepreneurs, and our goal really is to bring you be able to share practical skills, practical things that you can do to grow your business. It's a community where entrepreneurs support entrepreneurs. It's a community where you get learning specific to different challenges in growing a business, and it's a place where you feel heard, you feel seen, and you feel supported. And that's what we're doing with My Business Network. And we have a few activities happening before the month end. On the 28th, we're going to have our first founder story, and I haven't announced this publicly on the group, but we're going to have our first founder stories. We're going to be having Bruce Ayonote, who's a big-time entrepreneur in Nigeria. His company recently IPO'd, and he's a tech founder, bootstrapped all the way to IPO. So it's going to be an amazing time having that conversation with him. So for those of you who are in Abuja, you can apply to be in that, because there's going to be 20 people in the room, only 20 people in the room. But it's going to be recorded and you're going to have it on our podcast. So once we're done with that, we're going to launch the Founder Stories podcast, and you're going to be able to have access to it. Then at the end of the year, at the end of the month, on the 30th, Saturday the 30th, we're going to have our meet and greets for the month if you're in Abuja. And if you're not in Abuja, it will be great for you to talk to us, and maybe you might want to be able to start having meet and greets in your city as well. And this time we're focused again still on Mental Health Month. We're calling it soft ground, and we're going to be having some meditation, some guided meditation. We're going to be having some affirmations. We're going to be having some journaling. We're going to have some body system happen there. So we're going to pair. So it's going to be in a garden. It's a picnic. We're going to pair you with a body. You're going to take a walk with your body and going to share. So it's going to be really interesting. Trust me, you haven't been at an event like this before. Even I haven't, and I'm designing it, right? But I'm designing the kind of event that I'm not just going to facilitate. I'm going to be part of the event. So I really can't wait for us to have that. Beyond these two main physical events, please do endeavor to keep engaging on the group. After this event, we're going to send you a feedback form. Please fill the form. Let us know what you liked about it. Let us know what we need to do better. Let us know, rate us so that we can do better next time. We can bring more value to you. And also let us know what things you think that we need to talk about maybe on some other platform. Then remember that we have Mondays where we're building in public on Mondays on the community. Please be a part of it. Remember that on Thursday, we have Visibility Thursdays. And I want to say this because it's super critical. Visibility Thursdays allows everybody to support your business by sharing what you do on social media. Like, just imagine this. The community now today, I think as of today, we are 83 people. Now, imagine that you post something on LinkedIn and you get 83 likes, comments, and shares within the hour. The algorithm automatically sends it viral, right? And that's what we want to be able to do. So please put something on social media on Visibility Thursday, put it out there on the group, and also engage with other people's content as well. Our website is www.mbnafrica.com, and there's going to be lots of information happening there. So go engage with that. Remember, on Friday we have Win Fridays, where we come and share what we won the week. And like I said, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you win something, and it might be so small. It might sound so small. Somebody called back. And you go back home and you tell maybe your best friend, or sometimes even your spouse, that somebody called back. They might not understand the gravity of somebody called back. But when you tell an entrepreneur that somebody called back after you had 200 no's, we understand. We understand. We understand what it means for somebody to call back. And so that's why we win. So that's why we do the Wins Friday. So please be a part of all the activities that we are doing, because all of them are designed to help you grow your business. So again, with that, we've come to the end of the session. I know that Franklin wants us to take a picture, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you can, turn on your camera, and we're going to do a screenshot just for posterity. So if you can turn on your camera, please turn on your camera. All right, so with that, we've come to the end of our operator session. Thanks everyone for being a part of it. Thanks to the amazing team behind the scenes. You guys know Nathaniel and UV doing all the extra work to make sure all of this works. Thanks Hope and Franklin on the comms and program side. Thanks Sean, and thanks to our amazing speakers, Jaco and yes, you guys are the best. And I know I owe you guys an arm and a leg, and I'm gonna pay someday. And I love you both. Take care. Bye.